Inspired Nutra is back on the channel. CR3. Today we're going to be talking about CR3, what it can do for you, and why it's different. I'm so excited. I'm throwing my mic around. So let's get and talk about it. So Inspired is a company that checks a lot of boxes for us. They do a lot of great things that we love. That with their original White Cut pre-workout. If you aren't old enough to remember the White Cut, well, you're missing out a lot. That was a pre-workout that pushed the industry in a lot of different directions. They brought some stuff to the table that we hadn't really seen before, and they did it stylishly with some cool branding, some cool designs. And they did it like not being a huge legacy company. You know, they made waves as a smaller company, just sticking their claim in the industry and talking about good stuff. So not only do they have good products, but they also focus on the athlete as a whole. You know, with their greens, their multivitamin, other stuff like that. They talk about a lot of other things than just ultra performance pre-workouts, which obviously they did the pre-workout game and they really killed that. They still are with Devastate of the Union. However, they have moved into so many more like holistic standpoints with other parts. They're even talking about stuff like gut health and stuff like that, which is really exciting. If you know Chris, you know that he's, I don't want to call him too much of a hippie, but he believes in the whole body health, and there's so much more to it. So we love the way they do all that. They give back to the industry. They're awesome dudes, and they do a lot of different things that we really like with their actual formulas. So today we're going to be talking about CR3 and how it's a little bit different. A lot of it's going to be revolving around NULIV and NULIV's ingredients, because they've got two different ones in here that work kind of synergistically in our opinion. And I'm going to talk about some stuff that I don't normally talk about, like creatine hydrochloride, or 2 grams of creatine instead of 5 grams of creatine, and why these things might be important right now in today's industry, or why they might work differently for you. There's a couple different reasons I'm going to be talking about this, and I'm super stoked about this product. Synactive itself has been a huge lifesaver for me, or at least performance saver. So I'm kind of passionate about this product, and so today we're going to be talking about what's different about it, what it can do for you, and how to use it. So let's jump in and talk about CR3. So CR3 is really interesting because it's a capsule product, creatine, that does a little bit more than creatine. Mike kind of called it the creatine product you can feel, because there are some things in here that you definitely will feel. Off the bat, you guys recognize I don't talk about creatine hydrochloride very often. Most often I talk about monohydrate. I've been lucky enough in this industry to work for a while, and recently there's been some reasons why we might be talking about other creatines as well. If you're not familiar, there's a Chinese creatine shortage. Obviously there are other countries like Germany that produce monohydrate, but as a whole there's a lot less monohydrate in the world. So it's possible that we might be talking about creatine hydrochloride a little bit more here, but that's not really the reason that it was used for this formula. It's just kind of a convenient thing I wanted to bring up, that if you can't find monohydrate, a lot of companies are complaining about it. As a consumer, you might look to finding some hydrochloride. In this case, however, Chris and Landon use hydrochloride for some specific reasons. First of all, it's more soluble than monohydrate. Now, I don't normally talk about hydrochloride as a preferred or better version than monohydrate. I personally prefer monohydrate at a 3 to 5 gram dosage every day, just because it's simple and it's cheap. Hydrochloride is a form that is touted as much better. In animal studies, they have found that it actually is better absorbed because of the improved solubility. They haven't been able to replicate that in humans, but the solubility point is actually, it's a fact. It's not, really debatable. It is more soluble. Whether or not that matters for human consumption is a different whole fact as a whole. 2 grams of it here is actually above the amount that the body secretes daily. So your body, depending on your body weight, can secrete anywhere between 1.6 and 1.7% of your creatine stores per day. Now, in general, that's about an average of 2 grams per day for a male, which is how much you get in here. So you're getting 2 grams of creatine hydrochloride, and you are also getting estrogen alongside it, which is really important, and that's why they put them together here. Estrogen at 50 milligrams has about a 30% increase of absorption of creatine, alongside a lot of other ingredients like amino acids and stuff like that. It even lowers intestinal wall inflammation, which is really important, I think, for most Americans and, well, just humans in general. So for that, you're getting 2 grams of creatine hydrochloride plus around 30%-ish. So my kind of standpoint on this is, if you've been saturated for some point, if you've been training for any amount of time, you should be saturated on creatine. You should have been taking 3 to 5 grams of monohydrate daily, as long as you've known about creatine, because that's what it's for, and you should be using it in that fashion. At this point, you really could, if all the science is true, and I believe it is, switch over to something like CR3 and maintain your creatine stores. You don't need to be at a full 5 grams, depending on your body weight. If you're a larger male, you might need some more. If you're a smaller male or female, not to only talk to the males, but depending on your body weight, it does change a little bit. It's not a standard 5 grams. That's why I say 3 to 5 grams, depending on your body weight. But most people have been able to switch over to CR3 and not be able to lose any, weight, strength, endurance, any of that stuff. With all that said, what is creatine? Well, I'm not going to do a super deep dive on creatine. I've done it quite a few times. If you want to look at any of our standalone creatine videos, you can learn all about how it actually works. But to give you a really short, straight rundown on what it does for you, it does all these things, is proven to do them, like increase power, weight gain, lean mass, sprint speed, hydration, fatigue reduction, overall well-being, cognition, testosterone, and even bone density. Although the testosterone and the bone density are mostly applicable to folks who are not eating red meat. Red meat, you get about 2 grams per pound. Chicken is a little bit less than that, around 1 gram per pound. So if you are eating an abundance of meat, especially, this 2 gram discussion is a lot more applicable to you. I eat about 2 pounds of red meat a day and a little bit of chicken every day, plus whole eggs. So it's not as much of a concern for me to get a huge amount of powdered creatine. Although that being said, it is cheap and easy to, so I don't overthink it. In this case, I've liked switching over to CR3 just because it's capsules. I don't have to remember to mix it together. I just take the caps in the morning. And the other things that you get in here really kind of round out the experience, and things that I, as a more advanced, older athlete that has some beat up joints, really appreciate. So enough about creatine, and you know about the estrogen helps with that. So that kind of takes care of the ATP fuel. We will be coming back to estrogen a little bit later when we talk about Synactive and the synergy. But for now, let's talk about Agmatine sulfate. This is a trademark version of Agmatine. It's Agma Max. It's just a Agmatine sulfates. It's not like a patented version or any sort of specific different one. It's just a trademark version that you can trust because it's from a trademark company. There's no different science here. 750 milligrams of here is a pretty standard dosage of Agmatine. It can range between 500 and a gram. 750 is a great dosage right here. Agmatine is a cool old school ingredient that has a lot more benefits than you normally would think. Now, they tout it here as a nitric oxide ingredient, and it definitely does that. One of the cool things about it being in this product is, in general, like, you really don't need to be taking this pre-workout, post-workout. They do suggest that you take 4 capsules pre-workout, but you really could take this any time of the day. Creatine has very little data showing that peri-workout timing does anything, although there is a little bit in some data. It's not really enough of a difference where I actually even care to take it at a certain time. I take it when it's convenient. That being said, nitric oxide pathways here could suggest that you might want to take the Agmatine portion of this pre-workout as well as the Synactive. But one of the things that I like about the Agmatine inclusion is that you really could take it at any time, because while we have a ton of what I would call offensive measures for nitric oxide pre-workout, like citrulline, nitrosamine, nitrate, stuff like that, stuff that you would find in your pre-workout portions of the Inspired stack or any kind of pre-workouts, Agmatine itself is more of like a preventative or defensive mechanism in terms of nitric oxide. That's because Agmatine is an arginase inhibitor, which means it prevents the breakdown of arginine. So this is more of like a defensive measure, prolonging the effects of nitric oxide compounds, which can be really helpful if you're taking this kind of during the day and then taking your pre-workout, and it will work better at that. Now, there are some offensive measures like I talked about before. It does increase nitric oxide synthase in some ways. It is great for that. If you are going to take a pre-workout, it absolutely will have benefits. My point just being that as a creatine product, you can really take this anytime during the day. I definitely do. Now, like we talked about estrogen before, increasing creatine absorption, you're going to find the same increase over here in Agmatine, actually even more, 36% as opposed to 30%. So with that, you could actually kind of assume you're going to get around the feeling of a gram. You're going to be absorbing a decent amount more than normal. Estrogen is an awesome ingredient. We love seeing a lot of different stuff because it helps so much with the absorption of so many popular ingredients. Now, Agmatine has some other benefits as well, like carbohydrate utilization. There's also some cognition boosts from it as well. There's actually some pain tolerance studies on it. There's a lot of different benefits for Agmatine. It's a very cool ingredient. We love seeing it. It's not just a pre-workout ingredient, in my opinion, anymore. There's a lot of different benefits to adding it to stuff. So Agmatine here, while it does under the nitric oxide blend, a lot of different benefits to it. Don't sleep on it. Make sure you're taking it in your CR3. Lastly, we get our Vo2 Max blend here, which is a really fun call out for Synactive because it's not really one of the normal call outs for Synactive, not one of the things that I normally turn to it for. Synactive is an awesome ingredient from NULIV that will synergize with their other ingredient, estrogen, for a couple different reasons. First off, it's going to help with the absorption of it. This is a Panax ginseng root with a Rosa Roxburghi fruit. extract. The estrogen is, again, a panax ginseng and an astragalus extract as well. If you watch my previous video about NULIV's different ingredients, they use a lot of different of the same ingredients, but standardized for different constituents. In this case, we're getting two different panax ginseng extractions, but then you're also getting the astragalus and the rosa roxbury extracts together. So you get a bunch of different things that could be kind of working together, as well as doubling up on the panax ginseng stuff. Now, estrogen is going to help with the increasing of the absorption of Synactive, again, like you see with some other ingredients in here. And that's only going to make Synactive more powerful. Synactive itself helps out with a lot of senescent cells. It helps kind of cleave off and get rid of old cells that are not as useful for the body anymore and help promote the growth of new ones. So if you're training, you know, obviously you damage some old tissue, some old muscle cells, whatever, it's going to help clean off that stuff and help you produce new, more efficient, healthier, younger cells. But what they're calling out here is the Vo2 Max claim, which is conveniently one of the only things in terms of performance that creatine doesn't do. So I find it to be a really cool inclusion in the product. As a creatine product, with creatine, you see tons of different benefits. Like I listed out before, it's almost comical the amount of things that you can call out on creatine. However, one of the only things in performance that doesn't do is improve Vo2 Max. Now, Synactive's ginseng specifically actually improved Vo2 Max by up to 20% versus placebo. Now, biopsies of actual muscle when using Synactive actually showed a 47% increase in citrate synthase, which is critical to ATP production. This could yield a really interesting synergy with creatine, obviously, which is really important for ATP production. We haven't seen this studied, but it is an interesting call out that they both work on this similar pathway, and it could be interesting to have them together. In any case, a lot of people are enjoying CR3 together. I've only been using it for a little bit while now. I haven't seen any drop-offs in performance, but I'm hoping towards the end of the bottle to actually see an improvement in my strength training. And so for all those reasons, we're super excited about CR3. I've been using it for a little bit. I'm not going to make any claims other than I haven't lost any performance by dropping down 2 grams of creatine hydrochloride as opposed to my 5 grams of monohydrate previously. As always, I do have to say we got the product for free. We have a business affiliate relationship with Inspired, but I hope that the breakdown is interesting and helpful for you guys. There's a bunch of different ingredients in here that you not only will see here, but in other products that you might be taking in your stack. So this is super important to learn about and understand for your own stacking capabilities. If you have any questions about the product, the brand, anything, feel free to comment below. I'd love to talk to you about it. As always, guys, I really appreciate making this far in the video, and have a great day.
Welcome to PricePlow.